Hey everyone, my name's Sundeep. I work at Connected and we are hiring. So if you're interested at all, come and talk to me. So today I wanted to do a little short talk on the never type in Swift. Um, just by show of hands, we're just curious. Has anyone ever heard of the never type? Is anyone using it right now in their code? Yay. All right, cool. All right, well, the point of the talk is to just kind of explain a little bit about what it is and hopefully show a real world, real life example where you might be able to use it. Um, and if you find other uses for it, I'd love to hear about it because I find it's kind of a weird type that doesn't really, it's kind of hard to fit it into your code, but when you can, I find that it's kind of cool and nice and makes your code a little bit more expressive. Okay, so this is the never type right here. By the way, can everyone read this screen? Yeah, okay, awesome. So this is the never type. It's implemented in the standard library, and this is the implementation here. It's an empty enum. So this, because it's an empty enum, it cannot be instantiated. And because of this, there are some interesting properties that the compiler and yourself can take advantage of while writing code. So I'm going to take you through, I'm going to kind of get right to the point here. It might assume some prior knowledge. And if it does and you're not clear on stuff, please find me afterwards and I can try to walk through it in more detail. So I'm going to talk about some kind of genericized networking code. And so I have some code here. I'm going to just plop in here. And let's say we have this protocol that that kind of describes how a request would work. So we have this request, we can send it, and we can pass in a completion handler. And you can see that the completion handler takes in a result type. Now, I think this is pretty common, seeing the result type. It's now built into Swift 5. So I'm using it here. I hope that's okay with everyone. I'm just going to roll with this here. And we can see that this protocol is generic. It has this associated type called response. So this could be like some model that you parse, like you get some JSON back, like a user object. And then, so your associated type might be like user or something like that, user model. So here's a quick example of usage of this protocol. So we may have this request called getName, and you can see that the response type is going to be string. So when we implement the call, the send call, we're going to get a completion handler that takes in a result of string error. And so I'll just let that sit there for a moment. I know you're going to like this, how you get NSURL session gives you back an optional error and an optional value. But I'm going to kind of gloss over that for this talk here. And you can notice that once we finish the call, we want to call the completion handler with either the failure case, the result failure case, or the result completion case. Sorry, the result success case. Okay, is that cool? Yeah. All right, I hope that's cool. I don't know. All right, so let's say that we want to make a network call for like some kind of user analytics behavior, right? So a lot of times we want to like implement tracking, user tracking. We want to know exactly what our users are doing. So let's say we want to track when a user looks at one of the screens in our app, right? So for this call, we don't really care about whether like when it succeeds. Like we're not going to really handle it. We're not going to react to when it succeeds. We just want to make the call and not really care about when it succeeds. But we do care about when it errors so that later on we can like find the error and like try to fix it. It might be a bug. But on the success case, we don't care. right? So typically what I used to do would be something like this. So I have my track screen struct here, and it takes in a screen name, okay? And here's the send function. So it's basically, I'm just kind of faking all this stuff out, but essentially, I skipped over one part here, but basically we don't really care about the response, so we're gonna use void type. And so the call is gonna happen, and like, I'm gonna put a developer comment in here for future maintainers or my future self saying, we don't really care about the success case, so don't even bother calling completion because we don't care. So I don't know if you guys think this is okay. I used to think it was okay. I mean, it looks all right. The problem is we have to have this like darn comment here, right? So let's take a look at using this. And let's say we want to actually use this track screen struct, right? So we're gonna create it. We're gonna track the home screen, and we're gonna send it. And then in the completion closure, we're gonna get a result back. And so we want to switch over it because we want to handle the error. And like typically, this is what you do. You might want to implement the switch here, and then on the success case, we're gonna not care about it. And again, we have this like, kind of developer comment. Some people might put in fatal errors or assertions and stuff like that. All right, I'm probably taking way too long here, so let me move forward. Okay, so the problem is you have these comments and you have these weird lines of codes that don't actually ever get invoked. And this is where never can come in to help us. So I'm going to implement another version of track screen. And you can see that we're going to type the response to never. And now in here, it's kind of cool, right? So if this network call succeeds, it's actually impossible to call the completion block in the success case. And why is that? It's because never, as we mentioned before, it's an empty enum. It can't be instantiated. So it's just impossible. It's literally impossible to call to make a success case here. So if I even try, like this code doesn't compile because this doesn't exist. There's no initializer for it or anything. So I don't need to really put the comment in there because by the nature of the type here, it's already expressing the requirement. All right, so let's take a look at the usage. And we'll see here that we're gonna track the home screen again, this time with our track screen 2, the never one. And if you look at our switch here, you might think it looks a little bit funny because we may not look like we're being exhaustive, but we actually are because the Swift compiler understands that because we can't instantiate a never instance, that it's impossible for us to have the success case here. So it doesn't actually force us to write any code or implement the default case or implement the success case here. So again, you don't need the developer comment or a fatal error or an assertion or anything like that. You can just write the code the way the requirement wants you to express it. And that's how never can be useful. Thank you. So I don't know if we have time for questions, but if anyone has a question. Is the result type always optional? Yep. Oh, right here? Yeah. Oh yeah, this is just, I was trying to kind of fake out the network call here. No, I don't believe it does. Yeah, so you can see that we unwrap them before we use the result type. So we unwrap the optional here, and then we use this guy right here is not optional. If I can, yeah. Does that answer your question?